Hey y'all, happy Monday. So today we're going to dig in again to that passage from Joshua chapter 1 where God gives Joshua instructions. We're going to read it first to kind of get it back in our heads for the week, and then we'll talk about it for this week. So after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua son of Nun, Moses' minister, Moses, my servant, is dead. So now arise, take his place. Go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land which I am giving to them, the Israelites. Every place upon which the sole of your foot shall tread, that have I given you, as I promised Moses. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Be strong, confident, and of good courage, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, that you may do all the law with Moses, which Moses my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may observe and do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall deal wisely and have good success. I think it's interesting, even as I'm reading it, there's light bulbs going off, and we've read this passage how many times? These are the words that God chooses to set Joshua up in this new position, this calling, this walking into his destiny, right? So Joshua is going to be, he is now the leader of the Israelites, and quite a job, quite a shift. And so God says, if you're going to be successful, this is what you have to do. Think about first day on the job type thing, and your boss is telling you everything you need to know about this position, how to be successful in this role. And that's what God does here. He says, no man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I'll be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Be strong, confident, and of good courage, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land. He says, only be strong and very courageous. So it seems like it's going to take some guts for Joshua to do what God's going to tell him to do. And the Israelites were not an easy people from what I've read, which I know God's sitting, he's looking at me right now going, and you think you're easy, Nancy Jo? No, I don't think I'm easy. But we talked Friday, and I said to go back and read through the book of Exodus if you could, to see how God was with Moses, because of course his instructions in this conversation with Joshua, he says, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. So I want to know how he was with Moses. So I've gone back and I've been reading through or listening to it being read from the book of Exodus. And the Israelites, they had their moments. And so I think that's one reason Pharaoh's heart was hard, but God did so many signs and wonders to the people to remind them who he is. He talks about being the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham knew God. Isaac knew God. Jacob knew God. And of course, it was from Jacob's 12 sons. They sold Joseph into slavery. Joseph is planted in Egypt, and then he brings his brothers, his family, to Egypt as well. And that's where they began to get planted in the Egyptian culture. I was again, reading, this was actually one of the last chapters I read yesterday. And so the total days or years, the number of years that Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. So you have this set apart group of people who belong to God, who have covenant with Almighty God. And they have been planted in the middle of Egypt, pagan, worshiping multiple gods, polytheistic, and so different from God, Elohim. And in that 430 years, it sounds like when you're reading through it that they had completely forgotten who God is. Now, there are some exceptions, and you read about Jochebed and Moses' mother and how she trusted the Lord, putting Moses in the basket. But all in all, when the people ask about Moses who sent me, and he's like, I am sent me to you, and it's almost as if they're puzzled as to who this is, who this God is, and why he has sent Moses, and what he's doing. So for Joshua, his instructions are to be strong and very courageous, that you will do all that according to the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. And I know that it is, I'm going to say easy. Easy is probably the wrong word to use right here, but Satan sets traps all along the way, the fowler's snare, right? To move us from where we're supposed to be, or the path we're supposed to be on, into out of that, out of God's plan, away from the instructions of the Father, and away from his way of doing and being right, his righteousness. And so he of course he's skilled in the art of war, and so the traps that he sets and those snares that he has set out are not so blatant, and we think, we don't think that's if we take this step, that's not so far off, and then a little more and a little more and a little more, until suddenly we don't even realize or recognize ourself set apart from those that are around us. And again, if you're reading in Exodus, it does seem like the Israelites, they didn't have the laws of Moses, they didn't have regulations or do's and don'ts, and so culture looked a lot different to the Israelites when they were living in Egypt than it did after they came out of Egypt, when God gave them the law to keep them set apart. So we're going to dig into that a little bit this week, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.